Welcome to the 50k channel with your hosts Andrew and David.
Yep, in this game we've got the Iron Hands attacking a Mechanicum facility to procure ordnance for the war effort. The time has finally happened. The first game ever to be filmed in New Zealand with a new host. For me, personally, this is super exciting.
Oh, this is a dream come true. How often to get a job like this?
Exactly, and I tell you what, I have wanted this opportunity for so long. I've worked so hard, moved my entire life to a new country, and we've finally got someone to be a full-time host, and that, for me, it's just amazing. So, Andrew, officially, welcome to the channel. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you very much.
Now, Andrew, as I'm sure you've seen from his Instagram post, has got some love for Erebus.
Oh, it's caught me a bit of flack for that.
It did.
If there's no Erebus, there's no heresy.
That's right, and all those Astartes don't have a job to do, so fair enough.
Exactly.
It's a controversial choice, but that's not a bad thing. We don't mind controversy on the channel. Now, it is quite fitting that we film a Zone Mortalis game for the first game filming on the channel. It's not quite 3K. We've gone for 1,700 points.
That's correct.
And I'm 1,700 on the nose. I think you are as well.
Yep.
Excellent. And just like Santa, we've gone for our list and we've checked it twice. So
Fingers crossed, but you guys will probably point out something.
Please don't. We think we've got it locked in, so we're really pleased about that. And also, the great thing is this is the new format as well.
Yeah, that's correct. So we'll be intrigued to see how it comes out, and I think you guys will like it as well.
Yeah, I've always wanted to bring these new elements in over the last couple of years, but you know, with guests and filming it in my house back in England, it just wasn't possible. Space was too tight.
Oh, exactly, and time as well.
Yeah, time. So if you've been on the channel, you'll know that it's a long old day. You get fed and watered, but there's so much to ramp through, and to do all these extra steps that Andrew and I are doing, it's going to be a 2-day film, I think, isn't it? We've already spent 6 hours prepping.
Yep.
And now we're going to do probably the first 2 turns today, and then we're going to finish the rest of the game tomorrow.
Oh, exactly. And you guys will see the build a table and setting the scene that we've recorded during the day as well.
Yep, so we've done so much now. So every game will get a set in the scene. You'll get a full army profile from the little photo inserts that we previewed a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago on Instagram. There's a top-down camera now that will show all of the movement, and we've got some other little Brucey bonuses in there as well. So fingers crossed, but this is our test.
Yep.
So please be forgiving. Yeah, if we have a quick look at the board, we've got it split in half almost. We've got a big vehicle bay, and then the other side, we've got loads of little rooms with barrels and ordnance and stuff.
Oh, exactly. And with the different areas we've got, we'll break up the board and add to it.
Yeah, I think so. And the Iron Hands are attacking, and they've come through one of the side walls, and they've dominated one of the top right-hand corners, haven't you?
Yep. Entry into the vehicle bay.
Yeah, that's right. So with we run the roll off to deploy next to them, but in the end we actually decided that to deploy opposite them would have been better, gives us a little bit more movement. If we also have a look at the placement of the objectives, you'll see that the objectives in place in those 3 locations, and hopefully there'll be a graphic to show you where all that is if we got it right, fingers crossed, in relation to the objectives. So the Mechanicum do have an advantage with their thrust moves. They're quite squirrely in that sense. They can move around.
As we found in our test game, they can move pretty fast when they want to.
Woo-wee! So we will get caught out in the open if we leave the gaps too big in the assault phase to thrust through, and then we'll get gunned down by those Volkites. But if we have a look at those lists, I'm not keen on those 2 Contemptors.
But who is really? Kiri's Pattern Assaultkins, Chain Fist, Extra Armor, and Blizzard Auto Simulacra. They're very tough.
Oh man, we have loaded up on melter guns, and we've got Destructor as well, which allows us to reroll our armor pen, because if we can get those Contemptors out of the way, we can probably stay out of the way of the infantry, maybe.
But if I get into Assault, here we go.
He's got Autic Maw and he's got a Paragon Blade, and we know how tough he is against 3 Rune Thalax, so that might be a bit of a tough fight. The Mechanicum won the roll off to go first, and elected the Iron Hands to deploy first, go first. So you will get first turn, because I really want the last turn to get onto those objectives. I am not going to seize, because I want the second turn, which is nice. And let's have a look at the list, and then we'll go straight into Iron Hands turn 1. Autic Maw leads the Iron Hands into battle. He's equipped with a Volkite Charger, a Paragon Blade in the form of an axe, and a servo arm. The 3 troops choices are identical. There are 3 squads of 15 Iron Hands Immortals, 3 are equipped with melter guns, the rest are equipped with Volkite charges. The sergeant is equipped with artificer armour and a breaching charge. There are 2 elites choices, both are Contemptor dreadnoughts. They're equipped with a Carey's pattern assault cannon, a chain fist with inbuilt melter gun, extra armour and blessed auto simulacra. Leading the Mechanicum is an Arch Magos Prime. He's equipped with 2 melter guns, one of which is mastercrafted, has 3 Cyber Ocularis, has been upgraded to a Myrmidax, and is also equipped with a jetpack. The first 2 troops choices are identical. They consist of 4 Thalax in a cohort. They have all taken heavy chain blades. There are 2 multi-melters in the squad and have been upgraded to take the Destructor special rule. The third troop's choice is identical to the first and second, except it has 6 Thalax instead of 7. The fourth and final, again, is identical to the third, but instead of multi-melters, has 2 photon thrusters.
Iron Hand's turn 1 movement. The Medusan Immortal Squad and the Contemptor Dreadnought advance into the main corridor from the vehicle workshop, while Autic Maul and the second Medusan Immortal Squad advance through the workshop to a flanking position. Iron Hand's turn 1 shooting. With no targets, the Medusan Immortal Squad advancing into the corridor has elected to run. With the stand and fight special rule, they require leadership, which they failed, so they are holding their position. The Iron Hand Contemptor, with no targets also, has elected to run and will advance 6 inches down the corridor. The last Medusan Immortal Squad, with Autic Maul attached, with no targets, has elected to run. They use Autic Maul's leadership of 10 and pass, but Autic Maul, being Cataphractic Terminator armor, cannot advance, but the squad rolled a 5 for the run, but due to the hardened armor, has advanced 4 inches up the board.
I know, my fault. A unit cannot run if it's accompanied by a model wearing Terminator armor. My mistake. I should have checked that. It was an absolute schoolboy error. For some reason, I had it in my head that you can still Overwatch if a unit includes a character with Terminator armor. Obviously, the character can't because he's in Cataphracti, but the rest of the unit can. And I just thought it was the same. I should have checked. I'm sorry. We do this twice in this battle report. We'll get it next time.
In the Iron Hand's turn 1, the Medusan Immortals have advanced further up the workshop and into the corridor in a pincer movement to envelop the Mechanicum, while the Contemptor Dreadnought has advanced into tactical cover while awaiting the Mechanicum threat.
Mechanicum turn 1 movement. The Magos has separated from his unit, and his unit has moved into corridor to pour fire down with their photon thrusters. The 2 Cyber Ocularis have moved towards that door to block any assault from the Iron Hands. The third has moved and will hopefully join up with this unit here to give them a bonus in the shooting phase. The unit with the 2 multi-melters have moved into a position where they can bait the Contemptor into coming towards them, but it will try and destroy that door so it can't get closed on them in the future and avoid being shot at in future turns. Mechanicum turn 1 shooting. The unit of 7 Thalax have targeted the Contemptor down the corridor with its 2 photon thrusters. The first photon thruster fires out and hits on 3s. That is a double hit. The second one is twin linked thanks to perfected targeting from the Magos, and that's passed on to the other Thalax, and that makes it twin linked, which is not required, so that is 4 hits. Fantastic news. The weapon profile is strength 6 against front armor 13, lance, which means it's a 12, and thanks to Destructor, we get to re-roll our results. So that is 1 glance. We can only ever cause a glance. Hoping for another 6 though. We do, and that is 2 glances, and the Contemptor has 2 5-up invulnerable saves.
2 anti-magic saves of 5+.
That's great news. That is 2 glancing hits, so 2 whole points on that Contemptor. Now, Andrew, can we have a blind check? So 4 or under to pass. Oh, that is a fail. That Contemptor is blinded and is down to weapon skill and ballistic skill 1. The second unit of Thalax will fire upon that door in front of them to prevent any shots being obscured in future shooting turns. There are 2 multi-melters in the squad and require 3s to hit. That is 1 hit, and it is not within double armor pen, so we need 5 to glance, 6 to pen, and that is not a sausage. There is also 5 lightning guns in the squad, and they also require 3s to hit. That is 3 hits, and they are strength 7 with shred and rending, so an auto 6 will destroy the door. That is fantastic, that door has been destroyed. Mechanicum turn 1 assault phase. There are no assaults against the enemy, however there is a ton of thrust moves to do, and this unit that just fired at the door has thrust forward 7 inches towards the objective. The Cyber Ocularis next to that unit thrust moves 7 inches, so he'll be within range to pass off the +1 ballistic skill if required in the next few turns. The second Thalax unit with a photon thruster have thrust backwards 6 inches. The Magos also thrusts a further 6 inches away from those oncoming Iron Hands. Finally, the 2 Cyber Ocularis have stayed in front of that door to give the Iron Hands something to think about before advancing into that corridor. End of turn 1 for Mechanicum. A fairly successful turn, putting some hull points on that Dreadnought and blinding it is a fantastic result. We are slightly worried about Ortec Moore's unit barreling through that door. However, we think we've put a roadblock in place where we can, in our subsequent turns, squirrel off into the other rooms and hold those objectives and wait for our reinforcements.
Iron Hands turn 2 movement phase. The Contemptor Dreadnought came on from reserves, advancing through the vehicle bay in support of Medusan Immortals and Ortec advancing further up in a flanking position. The Contemptor Dreadnought, after that abysmal shooting previous turn, has advanced in support of the Medusan Immortals who are moving in a flanking position towards the other objective. Iron Hands turn 2 shooting phase. With no targets in range, the Medusan Immortals have elected to run, pass the leadership test, and roll a 2 for the run, but only advancing 1 due to void hardened armor. Second Medusan Immortal squad with Ortec Maul passed the leadership test 2 run, but rolled 1 for the run move, thus not advancing. The Contemptor Dreadnought rapidly advancing down to support their comrades, rolled a 6 for the run move. Last thing we need to do at the end of this turn is to try and see if we can get a hull point back on the Contemptor Dreadnought using the Blizzard Auto Simulacra, requiring a 6 plus. Not a sausage. In a turn 2 for the Iron Hands, the Medusan Immortals and Contemptors advance down either flank towards the objective to apply pressure to the Mechanicum.
Mechanicum turn 2 movement. Everything has orientated itself to get some shots off into Ortec Moore's unit. The multi-melters are less than 5mm out of range, which is really, really unfortunate. And only one of those lightning guns will be able to draw a bead onto that unit through the door. So, bit of unfortunate placement there. One of those Cyber Ocularis has opened that door to allow line of sight. The Magos will be able to fire his 2 melter guns into the Immortals. And then finally, this unit with the photon thrusters will again try and pour some firepower down onto that Contemptor to try and disable it. Mechanicum turn 2 shooting. We're going to start off with the las pistol from the Cyber Ocularis in the doorway into the Immortal unit and requires a 3 to hit. That is a hit, fantastic. It's strength 3, but due to the inviolate armor, it takes it down to strength 2 and requires a 6 to wound. Oh, that's a 6.
3 plus for the Immortal.
Oh, yeah. It was worth it. The Magos will fire his 2 melter guns into the unit also. One is twin linked, which hits, and the other one is master crafted. Oh, that is good. That is both hits. We need a 2 to wound. That is 2 wounds. Unfortunately, it won't insta-kill, but it might help.
2 6 plus invulnerable saves for the boarding shields. Reroll that one. Nope. So 2 5 plus feel no pains. And that's 2 dead Immortals.
The unit of Thalax directly opposite the Immortals will fire. Only 1 lightning gun is in range and can only kill 1 Immortal, but requires a 3 to hit. Oh, and that is a 1. The Thalax squad opposite the newly arrived Contemptor Dreadnought will fire 4 photon thruster shots into the Contemptor, requiring 3s to hit. 1s are get hot, which we get 1, so 4 up armor save. and that is passed. So we get 3 hits, 6s are required thanks to Lance. None so far, we get to reroll thanks to Destructor. Give me 1, come on. And that is 1, great news.
1, 5+ invulnerable save.
Oh.
1 glancing hit. And now 4 or less for blind test. And yes, we make it.
Mechanicum turn to assault phase with no charges to declare. The Thalax will use their jetpacks to thrust, and this unit that fired at the Contemptor has thrust out of the way 7 inches. This unit near the objective has thrust backwards 5 inches. The Magos managed a mighty 10 inches on its thrust move. Finally, the 2 Cybot Colaris moved 6 and 8 inches respectively and got out of the doorway just to shield the Magos from any incoming attacks in the following turns. End of turn 2 for Mechanicum. Another successful turn. We've managed to maneuver our way out of harm's way for the next turn of the Iron Hands. We've caused some damage on that newly arriving Contemptor. It was a little bit unfortunate not to get that many shots off on Ortic Moore's unit, but we're still making great progress and we're staying out of the way. Now, before we get underway with turn 3, just have to give this PSA to let you know what's going on. Now, we finished turn 2 on the first day, and on the second day we were going to come in and finish the game off. However, at 6 o'clock that evening, the government announced that New Zealand was going to a 7-day lockdown, which means that obviously Andrew can't come over and finish the game off, which is a real shame. However, what we've done is we will continue the game. We will connect through FaceTime, and Andrew will have a top-down view of the battlefield. I will do all the camera work and setup as normal, and thankfully this new format allows us to do this in this particular way, and hopefully you won't notice any lack of quality other than Andrew will give me instruction prior to the turn. I will then narrate his turn sequence, and I will also roll his dice, which I guess I'm playing against myself, but in terms of dice rolls, but not in terms of tactics. So hopefully I can roll really badly on those white dice and roll really well on those red dice. So it's not ideal. The alternative is that we cut this game, don't produce a game this week and finish it off next week, providing New Zealand comes out of lockdown. But you know, you didn't have a game last week because we were trying to sort everything out, get everything set up. And to not have 2 games 2 weeks in a row for me is not acceptable. So we're going to push on with this. We'll see what happens. And then hopefully, if everything returns to normal, we'll get a game filmed Wednesday onward from next week in time for a Friday release. Now, these next week's game might get pushed out to a Saturday or Sunday, depending on how much we can fit in during the week. But hopefully this one's gone out on time. Obviously, I don't know because it's Wednesday morning, but I assure you we are working our hardest to get this out for Friday. All right, that's enough. Let's get into turn 3. Iron Hands turn 3 movement. Reserves came on in the form of a 15-strong Iron Hands Immortals squad. The Contemptor, Ortec Moorhan's unit, are slowly advancing towards that objective by the crates and trying to get some shots down onto those Thalax that are just in the doorway. On the other side of the battlefield, the Immortals have moved towards the next objective, supported by the Contemptor Dreadnought. Iron Hands turn 3 shooting. We'll start with the Contemptor firing downrange through the door into the Thalax armed with a photon thruster. There is 6 shots and requires 2s to hit. That is 2 misses. It is strength 6, toughness 5, so 3s to wound. Oh Jesus, that was a horrendous dice roll. It is a rending hit though, so it's really good. And we go straight onto our 6-up Feel No Pain from the Thalax. And that is failed, and that is 1 wound caused. Ortec Moore's squad of Iron Hands Immortals can draw a bead onto that wounded Thalax already. There are 8 shots, require 3s to hit, and they get Murderous Arsenal thanks to the Warlord trait, which means they reroll 1s to hit and to wound in shooting. So there is a 1 there, that's a good start. Okay, so that is the miss in the end, that's fine. So we get 2, 4, 6 hits, strength 5, toughness 5, 4s to wound. Reroll that 1 thanks to Murderous Arsenal. It's still a 1. And there is 2, 4 wounds to take at ATP 5. Thalax, I've got a 4 up armor. Ooh, saves 2. 6 up, feel no pain required to save the Thalax. No, and the Thalax with the photon thruster is dead. There is also a melter gun in range, requires a 3. Oh, it's a 1, but thanks to Murderous Arsenal, get to reroll. That is a hit, thankfully. And then 2s to wound. Yep, that's good. We now need a 6 up invulnerable. Excuse me, a 6 up feel no pain from the Thalax. All failed, and that is a wound dealt. The unit arrived from reserve, have tested their leadership and passed, and they rolled a 2 for their run move, and will run 1 inch thanks to void hardened armor. On the other side of the battlefield, the Contemptor with no targets ran 5 inches to cross that hallway. The Immortals fared a little better on this side, rolling a 6 for their run move after passing a leadership test, and ran forward 5 inches. At the end of the turn, the Contemptor that has suffered 2 hull points will try and gain one on the back with Blessed Auto Simulacra, requires a 6. Oh, it was close, no dice. The other Contemptor will do the same. Oh, again a 5, unlucky. End of turn 3 for the Iron Hands. The Thalax are still intact, mostly, with only losing 1 with a photon thruster. However, both units are moving forward towards their objectives, and the Iron Hands are now in their full force. Everything is on the board, and they are looking to close the noose around the Mechanicum. Mechanicum turn 3 movement. Luckily, both of the reserve squads have arrived, and they've moved on from this left-hand flank. The first unit will try and get some shots down onto the Contemptor and the Immortals advancing up through that corridor towards the objective in the next couple of turns. This unit with the multi-melters has stepped out and will fire down into those Immortals. The Magos has stepped into that doorway and will try and pick off a couple of those Immortals on the end there. And then finally, this unit has moved into the doorway and will try and pour firepower down onto that Contemptor to take off 2 of its hull points, and that will hopefully diminish the threat on that objective in the vehicle bay. Mechanicum turn 3 shooting. There is 5 lightning guns from that squad in the middle of your screen there, firing into those advancing Immortals. They require 3s to hit. Well, that's not a bad start. Only 1 miss. We're strength 7, shred and rending, so we're 2s to wound. Oh, wow, okay, look at that. So we've got 2 rends and 3 armor saves. We'll do the rends first, and they require a 6 up invulnerable shield save, which is failed, unfortunately, and now we're on to a 5 up feel no pain. Oh, man, okay, and that is 2 Immortals killed. Now we'll move on to the armor saves, and they require 3+. 2 pass, 1 fail, and now we go on to a feel no pain, 5+. Oh, and that is another Immortal dead. There are 2 multi-melters in the squad requiring 3s. That is 1 hit, 1 miss. 2s to wound. That is a wound, and we'll go straight on to the invulnerable shield save of 6+. Oh, it flashed a 6. But due to inviolate armor, it's -1 strength, so they do get their feel no pain of 5+. Oh no, and that is another Immortal dead. 4 total. There is no more shots into that unit, so require a leadership test of 9 or under as the sergeant is still alive. They've passed, and the unit stays strong. The Magos can target a couple of Immortals at the back of Autic Morge's squad with his melter guns. One of these is Master Crafted, which we'll do first, so requires a 2 to hit. And the second one is also a hit. It's strength 7. Thanks to inviolate armor, and requires a 2 to wound. That is 2 wounds. So now we need 6 up invulnerable shield save. Failed. Jeez. And now we need a 5 up feel no pain. Look at that. Pass 1, fail 1, and 1 Immortal is killed. The squad peeking through the doorway with a direct line to the Contemptor will fire into it. There is a single photon thruster to fire, so requiring 3s. That is 2 hits. And we require 6s thanks to it being Lance. Nothing, but due to Destructor, we can reroll armor penetration. Ooh, look at that. We get a 6. Fantastic. There is a invulnerable save required for automatic shielding. 5 up. That is failed. That contemptor suffers a hull point. There is 1 remaining, but it also requires a blind test, so 4 or under. It's failed, so it's down to weapon skill, ballistic skill 1. And now we'll fire 4 lightning guns into it, requiring 3s. They all hit, amazingly. 6s are required to glance, but we get to reroll thanks to Destructor. Oh, couldn't quite manage it. That Contemptor is still alive with 1 hull point. Mechanicum, turn 3 assault phase. The unit that shot at the Contemptor in the vehicle bay there thrust 9 inches towards the Magos to bring themselves out of line of fire of the Iron Hands. The Magos repositioned 10 inches with its thrust move, so it can decide whether to go left or right in its next movement phase. Again, in a bid to avoid any incoming fire from the Iron Hands, the unit that just arrived from reserve thrust forward 5 inches, and the unit with the 2 melter guns has just poked back in behind cover, very close to their objective, and will pounce on the Iron Hands in their next turn. End of turn 3 for the Mechanicum. Not a bad round. The movement, firing, and then thrusting out is really paying dividends at the moment, and we're picking off Iron Hands units as we go. Both of those Contemptors are 1 hull point away from the scrapyard, and we're working really hard to make our way around the Iron Hands, plink off some hull points, and pounce on the objectives towards the end of the game. Iron Hands turn 4 movement. The Contemptor on this left-hand side of the screen here is going to try and take some Thalax down with him before he loses his last hull point maybe. The Immortals there have advanced through the corridor, are making great progress down on that objective in that small room. In the vehicle bay, everything has advanced forward. Autek Moore and his unit are moving into that doorway to block the Mechanicum from claiming the objective. The Contemptor has moved up just in front of that vehicle to take some cover, and the other Immortal squad has moved forward, again in support of the Contemptor and Autek Moore, towards that objective. Iron Hands turn 4 shooting phase. Autek Moore and his unit have passed the leadership test to run, and the unit will run forwards 4 inches into that doorway. Autek Moore, of course, is in Califracti Terminator armor and cannot run himself, but his unit can run around him. I know, my fault. A unit cannot run if it's accompanied by a model wearing Terminator armor. My mistake. I should have checked that. It was an absolute schoolboy error. The Contemptor, although having no target, has elected to stay stationary, and the unit of Immortals behind the Contemptor failed their leadership again, unfortunately, and were unable to run. The unit of Mortals, bearing down on the corridor towards the objective, passed the leadership test and ran forward 4 inches. The Contemptor is going to fire down that narrow corridor into those advancing Thalax with its Carey's Pattern Assault Cannon and requires 2s to hit. Unfortunately, that is a double 1 there, so we get 4 hits, which is a reasonable start. And now we require 3s to wound, 6s are rending. Okay, no rends, but they are AP4, and that will rip through their armor, so we will require 4 6-up feel no pain saves. So we pass 1 and fail 3, and that will kill a Thalax. With no more shooting to complete and no assaults, we go straight into the end phase. The Contemptor that just fired its Carey's Pattern Assault Cannon will require a 6 pass for Blessed Auto Simulacra to regain a hull point. Oh, which it failed, unfortunate. In the vehicle bay, the other Contemptor will try its Blessed Auto Simulacra, requiring a 6. Oh, okay, and that is a 3. So no hull points regained on either Contemptor. End of Iron Hands turn 4. Not a bad turn. Killing 1 Thalax was a small victory. Autek Moore and his unit have moved into position now into that doorway, and they can see some Thalax. So the Thalax need to make a decision about what they're going to do in the next turn. On the other side of the board, the Immortals have made great progress up the board and will try and secure that objective in the next turn. And the Contemptor has maybe will go out in a blaze of glory by slaying one of those Thalax. Mechanicum turn 4 movement phase. The unit in front of Autek Moore's unit advancing through that door have taken an aggressive stance and stood right in front of them, trying to block their path into the generator room. They have also nudged the door so it opens up a line of sight for the unit that has just burst through to the generator room with the capture of it in their sight, and they will pour some firepower down into the unit to try and slow their advance. The unit here has moved forward again to try and deplete the numbers of those advancing Iron Hands, and this unit has moved forward very aggressively to try and strip the last hull point off that Contemptor, and then will either thrust towards the Iron Hands again to bait them into a charge to delay them getting to the objective. Finally, the Magos has moved up to try and get its melters into range. Unfortunately, it's just out, but it's getting itself into position for the next turn. Mechanicum, turn 4 shooting phase. We're going to start with the Thalax that are in the generator room, firing through their unit in front and into the Immortal. So we'll start off with the 3 lightning guns, requiring 3s to hit. That is only 1 hit, unfortunately. So strength 7, shred and rending, so requires a 2 to wound. That is a wound. Now we need a 3 up from the Immortals. That has passed, no problem there at all. Next, we've got a multi-melter, again requiring a 3 to hit, and that has also failed. The squad in front will also try their luck now with 6 lightning guns, requiring 3s to hit. That is 3 misses. Again, 2s to wound, 6s are rending. Okay, so that is just 3 wounds. 3 up armors. Okay, and they have all been passed. Great stuff. Next is the photon thruster, requiring 3s. 1s do get hot, which it has got hot. We need a 4 up armor save, which we pass. Lovely. And now a 2 to wound the Immortals. That is a 6. Fantastic news. We need a 5 up invulnerable, a 6 up, sorry, to turn it away from the shield. Failed. And now a 5 plus, feel no pain. Okay, that is also failed, and that is 1 Immortal dead. The cohort of Thalax in front of the advancing Immortals on the left-hand side of the board will fire their 5 lightning guns into them, requiring 3s to hit. 2 misses, and 2s to wound. 6s are rending. We do get shred, though. There's a 1 rolled. Okay, so it's just 3 armor saves. 3 up armor saves. Oh, wow, and they have all been passed. Lovely. There are also 2 multi-melters in the squad. Oh, that is a double 1. They have both missed. The Thalax cohort in front of the Contemptor will try and take its last hull point off. There is 3 shots with lightning guns, requiring 3s to hit. All right, there we go. So that is 2 hits. That's really good stuff. We need a 6 to take the last hull point, which we fail, but we get Destructor. Oh, there it is. There is that 6, but there is a automatic shielding save. 5 up. That is failed, and that Contemptor has been wrecked. Mechanicum, turn 4 assault phase. The unit that just shot at the Contemptor and took its final hull point has thrust 4 inches round the corner and is bearing down on those Iron Hands. The unit directly in front of the Immortal squad managed a mighty 7-inch on their thrust move and will gently thrust away to get out of harm's reach. The Magos rolled a huge 8 inches on his thrust move. However, he's just going to move a couple of inches to get behind that column, ready to pounce in the next turn. The cohort that entered the generator room near the objective has thrust forward 5 inches to try and capture it towards the end of the game. The Thalax cohort next to the doorway in front of Autek Moore and his unit are staying stationary. They could jetpack away, but they want to cause a roadblock to prevent Autek Moore and his unit reaching the objective and will be sacrificed if necessary. End of turn 4 for the Mechanicum. Not as shooty as the Mechanicum was expecting. There was hope that 3 or 4 of those Immortals from Autek Moore's squad were going to fall to the fusillade of fire. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. However, on the left-hand flank here, taking the final hull point off that Contemptor was a fantastic success. And now we can launch our assault against the advancing Immortal unit on that objective. Iron Hands, turn 5 movement, potentially the last turn of the game, and Alltech Moore is launching a daring assault on the Thalax inside that doorway to try and at least wipe a unit off the board. The Contemptor has moved forward and has moved on top of that objective, claiming it for the end of the game. The other Immortal squad has moved up in support behind him. And then finally on the far end of the board there, the Immortals have advanced forward their full 6 inches towards that objective and will take on the Mechanicum on 3 sides. Iron Hands, turn 5, shooting phase. We're going to start with the Contemptor in the vehicle bay, shooting through Alltech Moore's unit into the Thalax in front of them with its Carey's pattern assault cannon, requiring 2s to hit. Oh god, as per usual, that is 2 1s, fantastic. So we still get 4 hits and require 3s to wound. 6s are rending. Okay, so we only get 1 wound and 1 rend. So 5 up cover for the rend, which is passed, and a 5 up, which is failed. Then when you require a feel no pain, 6+, failed. So one of those Thalax takes a wound. Alltech Moore and his unit of Immortals will fire into the Thalax in front of them. We'll start with Alltech Moore because he's ballistic skill 5, requiring 2s to hit. We'll get to reroll 1s thanks to Murderous Arsenal, and that is 2 hits. The remainder of the Immortals will add their firepower to Alltech Moore's, and there is 18 Volkite Charger shots requiring 3s. We get to reroll 1s thanks to Murderous Arsenal. That is not too bad. Only missing 6 shots. The Chargers now require 4s to wound. Reroll 1s for wounds, no. Failing 5, that's 9 wounds for the Thalax to take. 4 up armor required. 1 is out the dice tray. Wow, that is an amazing roll. Okay, so only 4 failed, but they do get their 6 up feel no pain. Wow. Okay, so 2 feel no pain passed. 1 will kill a Thalax and 1 wound will be put on another. There are also 3 melter guns in the squad requiring 3s to hit. All hit, that's great. 2s to wound. Rerolling that 1 thanks to Murderous Arsenal. That's a wound, so that is 3 wounds in total, requiring 6 up feel no pain. Oh, so none have passed. That kills another Thalax and leaves 1 with 2 wounds remaining. Let's not forget the deflagate from those Volkite shots, requiring 4s to wound. Both wounded, fantastic. 4 up armor. Both failed. 6 up feel no pain. Oh, just. Okay, so we passed 1, fail 1, and 1 of those Thalax now has been reduced to 1 wound. There is no more incoming fire into that Thalax squad, but they require a leadership test. They are stubborn and require an 8 or under. Oh, that is just, and that is a 6 and a 1, 7, and that is a pass. The unit on the left-hand side here can draw 14 Volkite Charger shots into the Thalax in front of them, requiring 3s to hit. Not too bad. We only missed 4, which is pretty good. Strength 5, toughness 5, 4s to wound. Oh, not so good. That is only 3 wounds. Unfortunate. 4 up armor saves. Okay, passed 1, failed 2. Then we need 6 up, feel no pain. Okay, so we failed. So 2 wounds are taken. Now we require deflagrate, 4s to wound, and they fail to wound. So 2 wounds suffered onto that unit of Thalax. There are also 2 melter guns in the squad requiring 3s to hit. That is a 2 and a 1. They are going nowhere. Finally, the last thing to do in the Iron Hands shooting phase is for a leadership test for the Immortals on the right-hand side to run up behind the Contemptor. They passed their leadership test, but rolled a 1 for their run move, but due to void hardened armor, they reduce it by 1, and that unit is staying still. Iron Hands, turn 5, assault phase. Alltech Moore and his attached unit of Immortals have declared a charge against the Thalax in the doorway. There is a reactionary fire test to take. The Thalax are initiative 2 or under. And okay, that is a fail. Okay, not a problem. Lightning guns will strike out with 4 attacks, hitting on 6s. That is 1 6. That is a good start. Then we are strength 7, 2s to wound, shred and rending, so that is a wound. 3 up armor save from an immortal. That is failed, and now a feel no pain. That is passed, great stuff. 2 photon thrusters left to fire, requiring 6s. Oh, that is nothing. The unit now requires a 3 to charge in, and that is a mighty 9. Autic Moore and his unit have made the charge into the Thalax, and Autic Moore will strike first at initiative 4. He has 3 attacks base, +1 for charging, requires 3s to hit. So hits 3 times. He does get to re-roll thanks to Murderous Arsenal. So that's only 3 hits. And he's strength 6 with the Paragon Blade against toughness 5, requiring 3s to wound. 6s are instant death. So there's no instant death there, but that is 3 wounds. And the Thalax require 6s on their feel no pain. That is failed, and that has killed 1 Thalax. Next to strike are 7 Immortals. There are 14 attacks, requiring 3s to hit. And we re-roll all failed to hit, thanks to Hatred Traitors, which unfortunately the Mechanicum are this time. And that is 3 dropped hits, so not too bad at all. They are strength 4, toughness 5, and require 5s to wound. That was a horrendous roll. That is only 1 wound dealt to those Thalax. There was also 3 sneaky ones in there for preferred enemy infantry. So again, that is still only 1 wound for the Thalax to take on their 4 up armor, which they fail, and 6 plus feel no pain. Oh, it flashed. So it's another wound dealt to those Thalax. The Thalax will strike back at initiative 2 with 6 attacks, requiring 4s to hit. Wow, what a roll. So we dropped 1, we get 5 hits, and require 2s to wound, because we're strength 7 with those heavy chain blades. And that is 4 wounds for the Iron Hands to take. 3 up armor saves for the Immortals. Oh, only 1 failed. This is pretty good. And now we require 5 up, feel no pain. Oh, and that is passed. Lovely stuff. The Sergeant at initiative 1 will use his breaching charge against that unit of Thalax. We require a 3 to hit. That is a 1. That is really unfortunate. Let's not forget Hatred. You get to re-roll that hit. And it's a 3, so it has hit. Brilliant. And that has clipped 1 of those Thalax. Requires a 2 to wound. Oh, out of the dice tray. That is a 1, but there is preferred enemy, so we get to re-roll that. And again, that's a 2. Okay, lovely. So that does wound the Thalax. 6 up, feel no pain. Failed, and that is 1 more wound dealt. Autic Moore will strike with his servo arm at initiative 1, requiring a 3 to hit. That is a hit. 2 to wound, being strength 8. Out of the dice tray. Okay, that is a 4. Lovely. And now the Thalax requires a 6 plus. Oh, it flashed to 6, and that is failed, and that is another wound dealt to 1 of those Thalax. The Mechanicum have lost the combat by a difference of 6, unbelievably. However, they are stubborn and require a leadership of 8 or under to stay in the game and prevent Autic Moore from running through onto that objective. Oh, look at that, and that is a 5. What a successful combat. Last thing to do for Iron Hands turn 5 is he blessed Auto Simulacra for the Dreadnought on the objective, requiring a 6. Oh, it flashed, but to no avail. End of turn 5 for the Iron Hands. The Contenter has managed to seize the objective from the Mechanicum with the unit of Iron Hands Immortals behind in support. Autic Moore and his unit have pushed through towards the generator and are within reaching distance of the second objective. And finally, the other unit of Immortals have pushed up hard onto the third objective. Can they withstand the firepower from the Mechanicum in potentially Mechanicum's last turn? Mechanicum turn 5 movement. This is potentially the last turn of the game. The noose has tightened very close to this third objective here. So all 3 units have closed in on that Immortals unit, and we will hope to pull down at least 2 or 3 of those models and then engage them in combat whilst the other unit thrusts onto the objective and hopefully secures it for the game. We're still locked up in combat over here, which is fine. Hopefully we can hold those Immortals off for 1 more turn, and then finally the other unit of Thalax have moved onto that objective and will thrust a bit further back to try and hold it and not get charged if the Immortals break through of those 3 Thalax. Mechanicum, turn 5 shooting. We're going to start off with the Archmagos shooting his 2 melter guns into the side of that immortal unit. One shot is mastercrafted, requiring a 2, and that is a hit. Lovely stuff. And then the second one also hits. That is perfect. Now require 2s to wound. That is a 2 and a 6. Lovely stuff. And now the immortals will require a 6-up shield save. Oh, we get 1-6. Good stuff. And then we need a 5-up feel no pain. And that is passed on another 6. This is good. The Thalax cohort in front of the unit will strike out with their 5 lightning guns, requiring 3s to hit. That is a full house. Strength 7, shred and rending, 2s to wound. There is 1 rend and 3 armor saves, so 3-ups. Oh, 1 passed and 2 failed. Feel no pain 5+. No, and that is 2 dead immortals. The rend will force a invulnerable save from the shield on a 6+. Fail. Feel no pain 5+. That is passed. Great. There's 2 multi-melters remaining in the squad, so they require 3s to hit. That's 2 hits. 2s to wound. Oh, we've got a 1 and a cocked dice, so let's re-roll the cocked. Oh yeah, so that is a wound. Now we need a shield save of a 6+. Which has failed, and now a feel no pain 5+. Out of the dice tray, who'd have thought it? Okay, and that is a fail, and that will kill one of those immortals. The final squad to shoot at this unit will fire 2 multi-melters, requiring 3s to hit. 1 hit, 1 miss. And now we need a 2 to wound. That is a 6. The immortals will require a 6-up shield save and a feel no pain. Both failed, and that will kill 1 more immortal. Finally, 3 lightning guns will strike out, hitting on 3s. Only 1 hit, 2s to wound, shred and rending. That is a wound. 3-up armor. Failed. Oh my word. And now we need a 5+ feel no pain. Also failed. That kills another immortal. After losing those casualties, the immortals will require a 9 or under to pass their leadership test. And they have passed on a 5. Great stuff. Mechanicum, turn 5 assault phase. The unit of 5 Thalax will charge into those immortals they've just previously shot at. So the Iron Hands will get a reactionary fire test, which has passed. Brilliant stuff. So first of all, we'll fire a melter gun, hits on a 3. That hits. 2s to wound. That is a wound. And now we need a 6-up invulnerable from the Thalax. And that is failed, and that causes a wound. 10 Volkite shots firing into the Mechanicum as they charge in. 2 misses. That's 8 hits, which is brilliant. And now we require 4s to wound with those Volkite charges. That's a really good roll. 2, 4, 5 wounds caused on those Thalax. 4-up armor. Wow, what a roll. That is 4 saves, and now we get feel no pain 6+. No, and that is another wound dealt. 2 total. Now the charge for the Thalax, and that is a healthy 6 inches. Finally, the Magos will charge in to add his weight to the combat, and he goes 7 inches. Starting at initiative 4, the Archmagos Prime will go in with 4 attacks with his power weapon and requires 4s to hit. He does have hatred, however, it does need it, so rerolls 1 of those. Yep, so that is a full sweep, 2 5s and 2 6s, and he's strength 4, requires 4s to wound. Okay, not bad. That is 2 wounds. 5-up shield saves being in combat. 2 fail, and now we need feel no pain 5+. Oh, so 1 pass, 1 fail, and that will kill 1 immortal. 5 attacks in return from the immortals against the Thalax, requiring 3s to hit. That is 2 hits. Thanks to hatred, we get to reroll those hits. And that has garnered 1 more hit, which is good. And now we are 5s to wound against those toughness 5 Thalax. That is 3 wounds, unbelievably. Great. 4-up armor saves from the Thalax. 2 are passed. 6-up feel no pain. Oh, it flashed, and that is a wound dealt on the Thalax. Striking initiative 2, the Thalax will come in with 8 attacks. -1 because of the breacher's shield, so they don't get their +1 for charging. Requiring 4s to hit. That is an unbelievable roll, only failing 2. And now with strength 7, we need 2s to wound. Holy hell. Okay, so that is 2, 4, 5 wounds. Correction, 6 wounds. 3 up armor saves for those immortals. Wow. 3 have failed, and now we need feel no pain 6+. Ooh, pass 1, fail 2, and that will kill 2 immortals. Striking at initiative 1, the sergeant with his breacher charge will try and plant that on the Magos, requiring a 4 to hit. That is a fail, but thanks to hatred, he gets to re-roll. That is a hit, lovely stuff. Does it wound on a 2? It does. It won't insta-kill the Magos, but he will get his 3 up invulnerable save, and that has passed. The Immortals have lost the combat by a difference of 2. Leadership 9, -2, requiring a 7 or under, and they will be running. The unit have failed their leadership test and will fall back 12 inches. Unbelievable. They cannot be swept by the Magos as he has lumbering advance, and the Thalax have the Lorical Thalax special rule which denies them from sweeping. Consolidation after combat, the Magos falls back 6 inches and the unit falls back 4. Finally, the unit next to the objective will thrust 8 inches onto that objective, scoring it for the game. The unit on the objective by the generator thrusts 6 inches back to try and secure it. The Cyber Ocularis manages a 12-inch thrust move and puts itself between potentially Autic Maul's unit and the objective with the Thalax on top of it. Moving on to the combat with Autic Maul, the Thalax and the Immortals. Autic Maul will strike first at initiative 5. He has 3 attacks requiring 3s. So he only hit once and rolls a 1. So thanks to Mercer Arsenal, he can reroll one of those. So he gets 2 hits. Strength 6, toughness 5 is 3s to wound. Wow, and 6s are instant death, so we get 1 instant death, and again, due to Mercer Arsenal, we get to reroll one of those, and that is 1 wound and 1 instant death. The instant death will instantly kill a Thalax, and we get a 6-up save against the wound, and that has been passed. 6 Immortals, including the Sergeant, can attack next at initiative 4. 7 attacks, requiring 3s to hit. Rerolling those 1s for Murderous Arsenal. So in total, there is 4 hits. 5s to wound, strength 4, toughness 5. That is 2 wounds. 4 up armor save. 1 pass, 1 fail. 6 up, feel no pain. Oh, it flashed the 6 and that has failed and another wound has been caused. 4 attacks back for the Thalax, requiring 4s. Oof. 3 hits. 2s to wound, thanks to the heavy chain blades. We still get a 1 though. 2 armor saves for the Immortals. Oh, 1 pass, 1 fail. Feel no pain. Feel no pain was passed. Lovely. Autic Maul strikes initiative 1 with his servo arm. It fails to hit on a 2. Can't be rerolled thanks to Murderous Arsenal, and that has been wasted. The Thalax have lost the combat by 1. They are stubborn and require an 8 or under to keep Autic Maul at bay. Oh, that is a 6, and they are held in the doorway. Alright, that is potentially the last turn of the game. However, we require a 3+ to continue. Oh, and it's a 5. The game goes on to turn 6. Iron Hand's turn 6 movement. The unit has rallied, that was routed recently in combat. They've turned to face the oncoming Thalax and the Magos, so they will shoot snapshots into them. The combat still ensues between the Thalax, the Immortals, and Autic Maul. And finally, the Immortals and the Contemptor have pushed forward, still keeping the objective within range with the Contemptor, and hopefully the Immortals will run onto the objective and allow the Contemptor to shoot forward into combat. Iron Hand's turn 6 shooting phase, starting with the Immortals in the vehicle bay. They passed their leadership test and ran forward 3 inches. The Contemptor released control of the objective to the Immortals and ran forward 6 inches. The unit that recently rallied will fire their Volkites into the Thalax cohort. There are 6 shots and they require 6s to hit. That is 1 hit and we need a 4 to wound. That is no dice. Iron Hand's turn 6 assault phase again will start in the middle of the board with Autic Maul and his unit into the Thalax. Autic Maul has 3 attacks requiring 3s to hit. 2 hits. Autic Maul is strength 6, so requires 3s to wound. Wow, there we go. We've got a 6, which is an instant death, and a wound. So that instant death will kill one of those Thalax. A 6-up, feel no pain is required, and that has failed, and that is another wound dealt. Next, at initiative 4, the Immortals will come in with 7 attacks. That is really good. Only 1 miss, and that was a 2, so no Murderous Arsenal. And we require 5s to wound, only 1 wound. But we get 1 Murderous Arsenal attack, so 5s. No, and now we require a 4-up armor. And that has been passed. Initiative 2, 1 Thalax with 2 attacks, requiring 4s to hit. That is absolutely nothing. And finally, we come in with Autek Moore and his servo arm. It's a hit. 2s to wound. That is a wound. And now we need a 6-up, feel no pain. Fail. So that causes another wound. Again, the Thalax have lost the combat. They require a leadership test being stubborn. 8 or under. Oh, and yet again, they pass. And they pass on a 6. End of turn 5. Let's see if that contender can regain a whole point. Blessed Daughter Simulacra on a 6. Oh, it's so close again, and that's a 5. End of turn 6 for the Iron Hands. That Thalax is proving extremely difficult to shift. If it had died this turn, the unit could have consolidated into the generator, and if the next turn was rolled, they could potentially threaten this unit on that objective. However, it didn't happen, and the combat will continue, and I wonder if the units here can hold out against the Magos and the Thalax. Mechanicum turn 6 movement, a very prickly turn. We had hoped the game would end, but it hasn't. And so this unit has just protected themselves further by backing away slightly so we don't get consolidated and charged in the next turn. We've put a Cybot Galaris between the Thalax and Autek Moore's unit. This unit has stayed on the objective. They did consider moving and maybe joining the combat or the shooting phase if the game continues. And this unit did consider moving back onto the objective. However, they have moved forward, joined with the Magos, and will fire everything they can into those Immortals and remove the threat from this side of the battlefield. Mechanicum, turn 6 shooting. We're going to start off with the Archmagos Prime with his 2 melter guns into the Immortals in front. One is mastercrafted, which is fine. The other one hits on a 2. That is a double 6. Lovely stuff. Required 2s to wound. That is 2 wounds. Shield saves of 5+ from shooting. Both failed. Now I feel no pain. Oh my word. All right, 1 pass, 1 fail. That will kill 1 Immortal. 2 multi-melters in the squad on the Thalax. They require 3s to hit. That is 1 hit. 2s to wound. That is a 1, unbelievably. And 2 lightning guns. Come on. 2 hits. Shred and rending. 2s to wound. 2 wounds. 3-up armor save. Both are passed. Unbelievable. However, that squad does require a leadership test of 9 or under. And they have passed on a 3. Lovely. Mechanicum, turn 6 assault phase. The Magos and his attached unit will charge the 2 remaining breaches of that squad. They will declare their overwatch and can only hit on 6s because they just rallied. That is 1 6 though, and require 4s to wound, being strength 5 of their Volkites, and that has failed. The unit will now charge in 7 inches. Charging in at initiative 4, the Magos will attack with only 3 attacks now because of the boarding shields and requires 4s to hit. Has hatred, so he can reroll all of those hits on the way in. First turn. Fail, so there's only 1 hit. He's strength 4, toughness 4, and requires a 4 to wound, and that has failed. Striking back at initiative 4, the Sergeant and the Marine will go into the unit. There are 3 attacks requiring 3s to hit, and that is 3 2s. Not good. Thanks to hatred, they do get to reroll, and that is much better. That is 2 hits, 5s to wound. Oh, and that is nothing. At initiative 2, 8 attacks from the Thalax hitting on 4s. Not amazing. Only 4 hits and 2s to wound, being strength 7 with those heavy chain blades. That is 4 wounds. Starting with the Sergeant, his Artificer armor, 2-up required. That is a 4. A 1, the Sergeant is dead, but he gets feel no pain, 5+. That is passed. Lucky ducky. Armor save passed. Oh, he rolls a 1 on his last armor save. Can he save it on Feel No Pain? No, and the sergeant has been killed. Leadership test pass. A leadership 8. -1 is 7. Oh my word, that is failed on a double 6. We can't chase them down, we can't sweep them, so the unit will fall back 2d6, and that is 10 inches. After routing the Iron Hands, the unit then consolidates 1 inch. Moving on to the melee, for the doorway, Autic steps in at initiative 4, swings his Paragon Blade with 3 attacks requiring 3s. They all hit. Now we require 3s to wound. Oh, that is 2 instant deaths. There is nothing the Thalax can do about that, and the Thalax has been killed. The unit then consolidates 4 inches. End of turn 6 for the Mechanicum. What an amazing job that lowly Thalax did at holding out the Immortals and Autic from the objective room. However, it couldn't quite survive the 2 instant death attacks from Autic and sadly died. The unit now has pushed into the generator room and are bearing down on those Thalax to potentially take it from them in turn 7. Let's see if Autic can get a 7th turn and steamroller over onto that objective and wipe the Thalax from it. We require a 4+. Oh, that is a 1. It was not meant to be. And it looks like the Thalax have held off the incursion from the Iron Hands. Well, that is it. I think it's fair to say that if it had gone on for a 7th turn, Autic and those Immortals would have moved closer to the objective, shot, assaulted, and wiped out the Thalax in their turn, or in the Thalax's next final turn, and then Mechanicum's final turn, and that would have meant that the Iron Hands would have had 2 objectives. That's 4 victory points, and the Mechanicum would have had 1 victory point for First Blood and holding 1 objective too. So it would have ended on 4-3. However, it ended on turn 6, so the final score was 2 victory points to the Iron Hands and 3 to the Mechanicum. So what a crazy game. Now, of course, Andrew isn't here to sort of do a post-game, and we had discussed perhaps doing it over Skype and stuff, but it would have been a bit wild, and we had, towards the end of the game, we had some really bad connection issues, so it was an absolute pain in the neck. So I'm just going to do the roundup. I do think it was a good game. The Mechanicum played really, really well. You know, we could never have taken on those Iron Hands face-to-face. Earlier on in the game, they were just going to annihilate us or just bog us down. So, you know, we did a classic tower movement, didn't we? We moved, shot, and then jetpacked into cover to great effect. Killing that 1 Dreadnought was fantastic. We nearly got the final one. We were so close to getting it. I would have loved to have done it. But in the end, it didn't play much part of the game, other than obviously securing the objective, because elites are scoring in this objective in Zone Mortalis. The last Immortal squad to come on didn't really play a part in the game, so not too bad. And the Thalax that were on the objective, they only shot once, so you know they did a little bit of work, but not major. But you know, I think the man of the match for the Mechanicum has to be that Thalax unit that held up the Iron Hands in that doorway, I think for about 2 or 3 turns, and that really is what stalled Autic and his unit getting onto that objective, which ultimately won the Mechanicum the game. So really, really good. If we look at the Iron Hands, they did a fantastic job. They really shifted from one end of the board onto that objective, and then, or close to the objective rather, then through the door, and then nearly made it into the final room. Admittedly, there was that tiny, big error for the running unit with Autic Morin. As I mentioned at the time it happened, I just thought that the unit can run around, but Autic has to stay stationary, but that wasn't the case. So I do apologise for that. It was a bit of a schoolboy error, particularly as I consider myself to be a bit of a veteran in Heresy. We all make mistakes every now and then, and you know, I always try to produce a clean game, as I like to call it, but it just didn't happen. But major thank you to Andrew. You know, he was sat at home slippers on, cup of tea in hand. He was loving it, and I was running around here trying to get everything sorted and made sure that on FaceTime on my iPad he was able to see what was going on so he could make an informed decision. So, I could have easily have just done the game on my own and rolled 2 different coloured sets of dice, but ultimately, when you haven't got that second person, I would have made different decisions to Andrew. So to continue the game for a Friday release and get Andrew involved over FaceTime was definitely the right thing to do. Now, I am going to preempt next week. So obviously, if lockdown continues here in New Zealand, filming a game remotely was doable, but extremely painful. So Andrew and I have made the decision that we are not going to film a game for next week if we don't come out of lockdown. However, if we do, we will endeavour to try and get something to you on Friday. It might be a tiny bit late. It might come Saturday or Sunday because obviously this new format takes ages to edit. There's like 4 cameras and all the extra photography bits we do and all the overlays and stuff like that. So it does take a little bit longer. So we will try and get a game up to you next week. If we can't, we will make up for it and try and squeeze 2 in the following week. But again, we're all subject to this lockdown. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed this game. I thought it was a real prickly one, but lots of fun nonetheless. I really hope you've liked the extra elements. We've obviously got a new intro screen, thanks to Boris, Pack Paint. So thank you, Boris, for doing that. We've obviously got the new photos on the army units, which I think is really nice. We've got the top-down camera. That was an absolute pain to sort, but I think it really adds some extra insight because you kind of get that omnipotent view of the battlefield, which you get when you're standing beside a table, but not perhaps so much in battle reports because you generally only get the view of the camera operator, or what I'm filming and showing you. So I think the top down really helps to show you where movement happens in the movement phase in relation to the board. And I think when we finally go into sort of 3K games, you'll see rhinos and drop pods and units and Spartans and whatever moving around the battlefield, and that'll give you much more of a sense of all-seeing and all-knowing on the battlefield, which I think will really help tie everything together. All right, that's enough from me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for persevering with us, and we will see you in the next one.